Okay, so at this point, we've learned a bunch of properties of exponents. So the first few that we learned were when you multiply powers, you add the exponents. When you divide powers, you subtract the exponents. And when you take the exponent of an exponent, you multiply the powers. We also learned about parentheses. So if we have something like 2x cubed, this distributes to 2 cubed and x cubed. But then what happens if we have a negative exponent? We've only done things like 2 to the third power, or like um let's say like 3 squared and then 3 cubed and then 3 to the fourth, or even 3 to the first. But then what happens if we get to a 0 power or even a negative power? So let's talk about what exponents are to begin with, right? So if I have x and y, and I'm going down the list, and I have let's go here, and I have 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go -1, -2, and -3. And my function is 2 to the x power, right? Whatever it is. So what is 2 to the first power? 2 to the first power is what? Well, 2 to the first power is 2. I'm sorry this is crooked, but you'll get over it. 2 to the first power is 2, because 2, just 2 is 2. What about 2 to the second power? What is it going to be? Well, 2 to the second power is 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, now what about 2 to the third power? Well, 2 to the third power is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And let's even go one further. 2 to the fourth power is, well, it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. So what is happening between each step? When I go from 2 to 4, what happens? Well, I multiply by 2. And then 4 to 8, I multiply by 2. 8 to 16, I multiply by 2. So there's obviously a pattern here. So if I would keep going, I'm going to keep multiplying by 2, by 2, by 2, by 2. So the question is, what if we went backwards? Because going forward is not going to help me get into this range. So to get from 16 to 8, what do? Well, I divide by 2. And to get from 8 to 4, I divide by 2. To get from 4 to 2, I divide by 2. So in order to get here, I'm going to have to divide by 2. What is 2 divided by 2? 2 divided by 2 is 1. So what this is telling me is that 2 to the 0 power is equal to 1. And this is true. Anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. I'm going to say besides 0 is equal to 1. So anything. So x to the 0 power is equal to 1. Anything to the 0 power except for 0. So 0 to the 0 power is undefined. But anything else besides 0, so if I have 6 to the 0 power, it's going to equal 1. If I have 25 to the 0 power, if I have -6 to the 0 power, it's all equal to 1. All right, so let's divide it again. If I divide this again by 2, okay, so now I have 1 divided by 2. And what's 1 divided by 2? It's 1/2. So I have 2 to the -1 power is equal to 1 over 2. That's interesting. One over 2. Now, what if I divide it again by 2? Well, then I'm going to get, let's see, 1/2 divided by 2 is, dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1 over 2. So this is 1/4, which makes sense. Half of a half is a fourth, right? If I have 50 cents and I cut it in half, I have 25 cents. So, or half of a pizza, if I have half of a pizza and I split the half in half, I get a fourth of a pizza. So This is going to be 2 to the negative 2 power is equal to 1 over 4. Are you seeing the pattern here? 2 to the first is 2. 2 to the negative first is 1 over 2. 2 to the second is 4. 2 to the negative second is 1 over 4. So what do you think, if 2 to the third is 8, what do you think 2 to the negative third is going to be? Well, if 2 to the third is 8, this is going to be 1 over 8. So this is the reciprocal of each thing. Again, so sorry for the crooked chart, but it's fine. I'll try to write straighter. So if I have something to the negative power, so if I have like 3 to the negative second power, well, I know 3 to the second power is 9. So 3 to the negative second power is going to be the reciprocal of 9, which is 1 over 9. A better way to write this is that we're going to have 3 to the negative second power. So this is what I like to say about negative exponents. You know how sometimes you go places and it's just not for you, and it's just not your happy place. Other people enjoy it there, but for you it's not it, right? This place right now is where the 3 is negative. The exponent is negative. It doesn't like to be negative. It wants to be positive. So it wants to go to its happy place. So what it's going to do, this is technically 3 to the negative 2 over 1. So what the negative exponent is going to do is it's going to go downstairs because it's happier downstairs. It's going to go to the other side of the fraction. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be a 1 on top because the 3 is leaving. So what's left is a 1, right? And what's going to happen is that 3 to the second power is going to come downstairs, but it's no longer negative. It's in its happy place. So it's going to stay down there. So it's going to be 1 over 3 squared, which is 1 over 9. So if I have, let's try another one. If I have 2 to the negative fifth power, this is going to be the same thing as it's negative, so it needs to go to the bottom. 1 over 2 to the fifth, which is 2 to the fifth is 32, so 1 over 32. What's important here is that even if I have a negative exponent in the denominator, so let's say I have x to the negative second over y to the negative third. Now, both of these are not in their happy place, right? They're both negative. So they both got to go. If it's negative, it's got to go. So it's kind of like if you have like really negative friends around you, it's like if you're negative, you got to go. We're not here for it. So the y is going to go up and the x is going to come down. They're going to switch spots because they're both in their wrong placement. So what's going to happen is the y is going to come up and you're going to get y to the positive third. If you move it, it turns positive, and you're going to get x to the positive second. Okay, so it's important to know that when you have negative exponents, they move to the other side of the fraction. Now, for some of the Khan Academies, it's going to tell you, okay, write the final answer as 2 to the k or 2 to the m power, right? So that means that they want it to be in a way where even if it's negative, it's okay. But some of them are going to ask you to simplify it without negative, like with negatives. And to make sure that technically speaking, this is simplified. If it has a negative exponent in it, it's not simplified. So if I have x to the negative second over y squared, what do you notice? Well, first of all, I can't combine these. Like I can't subtract it like we've been doing because they have different bases. But the y is in its happy place. It's happy. Don't bother him, right? But this x gotta go. It's negative. It's gotta go. So it's coming down. It's coming downstairs to join the y. Okay, now when you remove everything, a 1 is left over because technically the coefficient here is a 1. But what's happening is that they're having a party downstairs, and it's going to be x squared and y squared.